About 240 kilometers off the southern tip of Yemen, in the Arabian Sea, there is an island called Socotra. It is roughly the size of Long Island. Of the 825 plant species so far documented on it, 307 exist nowhere else on Earth. Of its reptile species, more than 90% are endemic. The island has been politically Yemeni for centuries and biologically alone for at least 6 million years. Socotra is a continental fragment, not a volcanic island. It broke off from the Arabian-African landmass somewhere between 6 and 7 million years ago, in the geological process that opened the Gulf of Aden. The break left Socotra and 3 smaller surrounding islands stranded in the Arabian Sea, far enough from any continent that the seasonal monsoon winds prevent regular bird migration in either direction. The island is about 130 kilometers long, 40 kilometers wide, and rises to about 1,500 meters at its highest peak in the central Hajj Mountains. It has a hot, dry coastal plain, a cooler high mountainous interior, and a karst limestone plateau in between. Each of these zones supports a distinct, mostly endemic set of plant communities. The most photographed inhabitant of Socotra is Dracæna cinnabari, the dragon's blood tree. It is a slow-growing umbrella-shaped tree that resembles, from a distance, the giant inside-out mushroom. Its name comes from the dark red sap that the tree exudes when its bark is cut. The sap has been harvested for trade since classical antiquity. Pliny the Elder mentions it for use as dye, varnish, and traditional medicine. The dragon's blood tree is unique to Socotra. Its closest relatives grow on a few Atlantic islands, the Canary Islands, Cape Verde, Madeira, and the geographic distribution of the genus is itself a small piece of evidence about how plant species moved during a wetter geological past. Other endemic notables: the cucumber tree, Dendrocysseus socotranus, a swollen-trunked tree in the cucumber family that exists only on this island. The bottle tree, Adenium socotranum, the Socotran pomegranate, the Socotran dragon tree's smaller relative, the Socotran fig, all distinct species, all found here and nowhere else. The total 825 identified plant species across the archipelago, of which 307, about 37%, are endemic. By comparison, the Galapagos archipelago, the textbook example of island endemism, has about 30% endemic plants. Socotra's reptiles are even more strikingly endemic than its plants. Of the documented reptile species, over 90% are found only on Socotra. They include several geckos, several skinks, snakes, and a chameleon, Chameleon monachus, that exists on no other landmass. Bird endemism is lower because birds can fly between islands, but Socotra still hosts a small number of unique species: the Socotra warbler, the Socotra sparrow, the Socotra starling, the Socotra cisticola. Mammals are limited. There are no large native mammals. Bats are present and include a few endemic species. Goats and donkeys, both introduced by humans, are widespread. Marine life around the island is the secondary endemism story. The Socotran archipelago sits in a unique oceanographic position, at the convergence of the Arabian Sea, the Gulf of Aden, and the seasonal Somali Current, and its surrounding reefs support over 700 fish species, including dozens unique to the local waters. Socotra has been inhabited continuously for over 2,000 years. The current population is around 50,000 people, of whom most are ethnically Socotri, speaking the Socotri language, an unwritten modern South Arabian language with no widely used script and only oral transmission. Socotri is one of the small set of surviving modern South Arabian languages, the closest relatives of which are spoken in mainland Yemen and Oman. Under the Roman Empire, Socotra was an established stop on the trade routes between the Roman Mediterranean and India. Greek and Roman geographers describe it. The 1st century Periplus of the Erythraean Sea, a Greek merchant's handbook, names the island and notes its harvests of dragon's blood resin and aloes for export. Christianity reached the island in late antiquity and persisted on Socotra for over 1,000 years before the population converted to Islam. Portuguese and British colonial powers each held the island briefly. The British administered it as part of the Aden Protectorate until 1967. Since reunification in 1990, it has been part of Yemen. The Yemeni civil war, which began in 2014, has not significantly damaged Socotra physically. The fighting has been concentrated on the mainland, but it has disrupted governance, ferry connections, and tourism. As of the most recent published reporting, civilian administration of the island has at various points been variously asserted by the internationally recognized Yemeni government, by the Southern Transitional Council, and by other regional actors. The United Arab Emirates has had a sustained presence on the island since 2018. UNESCO inscribed Socotra as a World Heritage Site in 2008, citing its biological importance. The status remains in effect. UNESCO and several international conservation organizations periodically publish concerns about climate-related stress on the dragon's blood tree population in particular. Younger trees are not establishing in the numbers they once did, and the population skews increasingly toward older, larger individuals. Socotra is one of a small number of long isolated landmasses that allow biologists to study what plant communities do when given several million uninterrupted years to diversify in a stable, semi-arid environment. The Galapagos illustrates the same process for a younger, smaller, more recently colonized archipelago. Madagascar illustrates it for a much larger, older one. Socotra illustrates it for an intermediate scale. The dragon's blood tree's umbrella shape is one of the case studies. The shape is not arbitrary, it is an adaptive response to the island's seasonal monsoon mists, which condense on the dense canopy and drip down to water the tree's own roots through long dry periods. Adaptations like this take millions of years to settle in. They cannot be easily replicated under captivity or in botanical gardens. Once an island like Socotra changes, ecologically, climatically, or through introduced species, the lineages it has been quietly producing for 6 million years are difficult to recover. An island the size of Long Island in the Arabian Sea has been biologically isolated for between 6 and 7 million years. It supports trees, lizards, and a language found nowhere else on Earth. The trees grow as inside-out umbrellas to catch monsoon mist. The lizards do not exist on any other island. The language is unwritten. The Romans bought dragon's blood resin here. All of these things are still true.